too. Sipping and roasting, yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party just about to begin, ladies
Welcome,
and gentlemen.
ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we're on show number 400. Bless you. That was Terry, our producer, sneezing. We're show number 436, which I'll get back to. But first of all, happy birthday, Terry. We're recording on Terry's birthday.
Thank you very much.
So
I shut the mic off to sneeze. Thank you.
we still heard you, but that's all right.
Yeah.
This is, we record the show live. There's not a lot of overdubbing. Occasionally if we're on location, we have to overdub the fanfare for the drunken fact. But there's a few things like that. But yeah, for the most part, this is all done.
And sometimes we have to edit out the leaf blowers.
Yes, that's true. Because
follow Cruz around.
they find me. No matter where I am, they find me. Well, welcome to the show. We're going to talk cult favorite whiskeys and Lone Pint beers today because we are excited to welcome back to the show two of our favorite guests, Mr. Blake Neiderhofer and Trevor Brown from the Lone Pint Brewery. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It is always a pleasure to have you guys on. Not solely because we're just such big fans of your beer. It's we have a lot of breweries and we try beers from all over the place. And we're fans of beer in general, but we're fans of your brewery very specifically because we just love what you guys do.
I was very excited that it was going to be on my birthday.
Yeah, see, it's a perfect. Yeah, he's angling for some leave behinds.
I
didn't
love
figure that out.
Anytime I see a new Lone Pint at the store, I snap it.
Boom.
up.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter what it is. I'll figure out what it is when I get home. It's just going into the cart right now. I love it, but there's new stuff from Lone Pint is kind of an occasion because you guys don't release. We were talking about this just out in the hallway before the show started. You guys don't release a new beer every Thursday. It's not volume with you guys when it comes to new stuff. It's maybe a little more careful and considered releases, perhaps.
Yeah, no, we've started a new line of beers that we're doing very small, one-offs. But other than that, we have Yellow Rose, obviously, which is our big staple, and we have some other things that we experiment with. But yeah, we like to do consistency and quality, and those always come first, and then experimentation comes after that.
And I understand that you guys are now about to begin distribution into Louisiana.
Well, we did. We started last year.
That's awesome.
At this time last year, and
oh wow,
and it's going.
Yeah.
Has it been that long since we got you guys on? Wow,
been too long, I think. Well, that's exciting. We are on the air in New Orleans with the show, which is kind of cool. So welcome to all of our New Orleans listeners, or to both of you. And we also are excited to let you know that you should be able to find Lone Pint there now, because this is one of the Texas breweries we are proudest of, to say the least. In fact,
100%.
I would go so far as to say, for me personally, it's the Texas brewery I'm the proudest of.
Oh,
so
thank you.
That's a big deal because there's lots of breweries in this state. Maybe not as many as there used to be, but still quite a few. So.
Well, that's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited. I know you brought some new things, or at least some things that we haven't tried. So we're excited to get to those on the program. We'll also be trying a little bit of artisanal mezcal. It's called Baal Anejo, and it is from Oaxaca. And Ian's holding the bottle right now. And one of the things that is different about this, and maybe it's because of the Anejo aging, but this is will be the first mezcal I've tried that isn't a more clear.
That's why I thought it was tequila. That's why I didn't call it mezcal when I first saw it. It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, by the appearance, I'm excited for us to try this.
And I noticed that the bottleneck hasn't been cleared, nor has the plastic off.
Yeah, sometimes I like to live dangerously and just kind of roll with it. Usually, before I bring any spirit in for the show, I like to go ahead and clear away the plastic packaging.
Well, I'll take
and-
on the danger of getting a plastic cup.
do it live.
Yeah.
Do it live.
Yeah. And I also, am usually known to like clear the neck of the bottle
It
so
helps
that there
with,
won't
like,
be
limiting
extra spillage.
spillage, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a plan. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about some cult favorite whiskeys on the show today, and we'll talk Lone Pint beers, and we'll taste some mezcal. So that ought to be a nice, interesting mix of things. We also will bring you some of our favorite and most popular elements of the show. The most popular, against all conventional wisdom, is something we do in hour 2 called Drinking News. Drinking News is where we bring you a story from the news that is often, but not always, about drinking, but is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And that's why we kind of save it for the second hour of the show, because by then we'll have been drinking. Our Drinking News teaser headline today: Beam me up from the bus station, Scotty. So you can ponder that while we get to hour 2. We also will do the Drunken Fact. The Drunken Fact is, it was started out as a drinking fact. We kind of burned through all of those, and we liked the little fanfare that we play in that part of the segment so much that we decided
It's all
to,
about the fanfare.
Yeah. So the Drunken Fact now is basically we bring you a fact, kind of a random fact that we know to be true because it's on the internet, and we bring it to you so that, when you're at a party and other people have had something to drink, this is something you can pass along and wow people with your knowledge of trivial and unimportant things. Today's Drunken Fact teaser headline is: No wonder South Korea smells so lovely. So we'll get to that as well. We also like to do something in the first segment. Usually it's in the first segment, where we bring a beverage in that only one person in the room knows what it is. That would be the person what brung it. Today, that what brung it person is me, and we're going to try out today's
Beverage of mystery.
beverage of mystery. Thank you. So here it is, guys. Take a moment to
It smells really good.
kind of
smells
assess it.
barley wine like.
Kind of does,
Like
doesn't it?
date kind of
Little date and nut action going on there. Has some carbonation, but not too much.
I'm a little confused by it now that I taste it.
What is the nature of your
It's-
confusion?
It's a little thinner mouthfeel than I was expecting. Not like, so it smells more barley wine, but then it almost tastes more Belgian.
What do you guys think?
It's got a slight sour note. Yep.
Yeah, definitely on the finish for sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It looks and smells like it'd be a lot heavier than what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
The finish leaves something to be desired, I think.
Yeah.
I like it up front.
Terry, what do you think?
It does, it is at the end. I'm not exactly sure. That wasn't exactly what I was expecting off the nose.
So the beverage
The more
of
I
mystery,
drink it, the more I like it, though.
the beverage of mystery
not bad.
often will be a seltzer or a canned cocktail. Sometimes a beer. Occasionally, Ian tries to sneak Malort into the picture again, but sometimes a spirit. Today, this is a beer, which I guess you probably figured out. And I brought it in because I thought it'd be interesting to try this while we have beer guys in the studio, guys who probably do a lot of tasting of, this particular brew or that particular brew and try to figure it out. I'm not sure. I like the finish okay, but I'm not sure I like a moment after the finish.
Yeah, it's so
the
like
taste that it leaves
while
you.
I'm drinking it, it seems to taste okay, and then if you let it sit on your palate a little bit, it gets really kind of bitter and weird.
Yeah, bitter and not necessarily a good sort of hop bitter kind of way.
It kind of reminds me, used to do a braggot a long time ago, and we did it one time with burnt honey. We put in some of the burnt honey for caramel notes, and it was kind of this color and had a similar flavor, but that's what it kind of reminds me of.
There is a little bit of a burnt something
Burnt sugar.
flavor. Yeah,
Little
burnt sugar. Yeah. On the palate.
I have
Well,
a question for you.
sure.
Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
Well, I'm very happy to be here because we got Lone Pint in the studio today. And I know we're going to be trying some good beers. But there is also a beverage of mystery bottle in this case in my pocket. And we have just tried for the beverage of mystery a Hitachino Nest beer. It is their matured in sake casks XH. And I'll pass that over to you because you're better
That's
at
a
reading.
lot to unpack.
You're better at reading
a
small
lot
print
to
than I am. So this particular Japanese beer company, we've tried their rice lager on the show before, and we weren't huge fans.
But it's sake casks, is
But
what
this,
it
yeah,
is.
this is matured apparently in sake casks. So I'm guessing that's where that Finnish flavor is,
for
sure.
is coming from.
Yeah, probably some of that funk.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sake funk.
it's interesting because I think situationally, if I was at a restaurant having sushi and I tried this, I would probably be loving it with the sushi and those kind of things.
Just that particular mix of flavors, huh?
Much like the Japanese beers with sushi just work, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't often drink a Kirin or one of those beers. Sapporo. But if I'm having sushi, I will definitely have one. Yeah.
What's the ABV on it?
8.
So
That's why it tasted thick.
It's the most flavorful Japanese beer I've ever had.
Really well.
I would go
100%,
along with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will go along with that. Well, it's very interesting. These guys at the little grocery store downstairs in my building at Phoenicia, where they always have a really good beer selection and usually a nice selection of you guys' beers too. They stock a number of beers from this particular brewer, but they're not in like 4 or 6 packs. They're individual beers.
The next time I do takeout sushi, I think I might have to look for that.
Yeah, it's
Because I think that situationally it'd be pretty good.
I think you're right.
When you have a little of the wasabi and all that kind of in your palate, I think that it would temper some of that.
And this little owl is their mascot, so you just look for that.
The owl is pretty
funky
cool.
looking. I guess that's maybe a Japanese owl. Oh, Terry is instructing me to show it to the proper camera. So there you go.
I mean, I did finish it too.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, yeah.
I think you said it best. The most flavorful Japanese beer that we've tried. So that's something. Well, guys, we are so excited about having you on the program today. We're going to talk about some cigars to watch for. There's a few interesting things that are coming out. And I wanted to cover this while you guys were here today to see what you thought about this. An interesting article that I found, the simple ingredient that makes cheap beer taste better. Yeah. So I thought have some real beer people here.
Maybe grain.
Definitely not rice. Well, but I know
Probably
rice.
not rice, probably
rice
not
lager.
salt,
It has
probably
its
not
place.
lime.
It has its place.
Well, yeah, sure, because we talked about this actually on the show, I think last week. We used to kind of make fun of, the Bud Lights of the world for using rice, but now rice lager has become like a sub, category in craft beer. It's become something that craft brewers are actually brewing on purpose.
Well, it's one thing to make something, to take an ingredient and craft something out of it. It's another thing to use an ingredient to cut costs.
As filler, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I would think that that makes some sense. So, well, we're excited to try out whatever you guys have brought for us today. It's all still hidden away in a cooler, so I have no idea what surprises you have for us. But we will get into that.
Your cooler matches the Lone Pint colors.
Oh yeah, is that an official Lone Pint cooler? Or did you
It is not. Those are official Lone Pint stickers on our HEB cooler.
I love that. I love all of it. All right, we're going to take a break. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to sample on today's program, so we're looking forward to all of it. And of course, we love anytime we have you guys on the show. Trevor and Blake from Lone Pint. We will be right back. It's Smoking and Toasted. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 436. We're going to talk cult favorite whiskeys. We're going to talk Lone Pint beers. Some Lone Pint beers being poured right now. So while those are being passed around, Ian, did you have an opportunity to smoke anything interesting?
Why, yes, I
this week?
did. As a matter of fact, this week, I totally forgot to review a cigar.
Oh, good.
So I
good.
dashed outside this morning at 8:30 and lit up a cigar.
That's
and reviewed
morning
it.
smoking.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And I picked one that I thought would be a good morning. I didn't have coffee. I actually had iced tea with it, but a little morning flavored cigar. This was a Romeo Julieta Reserva Real. And I don't know, most if you smoke cigars, you're probably somewhat familiar with this. This is a great Connecticut shade cigar. This was the Casa Monte Cristo exclusive Solomon, coming in at 5 3/4 by a 52 ring gauge. It's a beautiful cigar. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with almost no veins. I mean, absolutely smooth, like smooth tan leather.
They have a tendency to put out a lot of cigars that look
gorgeous.
Like that,
And it looks very Romeo Juliet, right? This is an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with Nicaraguan binder and a Dominican and Nicaraguan filler in it. So it's a little bit spicier than a lot of Romeo and Juliet is. The appearance on this, as we discussed, I already talked about that. Pre-light sniff on this. Sweet cappuccino, earth, fermented hay, a little bit of tea leaf on there. Pre-light draw. I used a clip on it. Had no draw whatsoever.
Oh.
Why? Because the end is closed completely.
That would explain it, yeah.
So that's actually was expected. Slight leather tingle on the lips. The initial light on this, the draw blossoms from non-existent to a gentle resistance within 4 to 5 puffs. It's really fun to do
kind of
that
opens up, yeah.
It just opens up and starts revealing flavors, delivering a bouquet of sweet cappuccino nuttiness that is slightly peanut, iced black tea, and a kiss of spice. Retrohale is campfire, nutty, and cedar. The first third of the cigar, along with the aforementioned flavors, a note of cedar moves forward and becomes a foundational part of the profile. Massive plumes of rich smoke issue from each puff, inspiring smoke rings, which I did a lot of because there wasn't a whole lot of breeze coming by this morning. Retrohale, campfire, nutty, and a bit of toast. Solid ash, perfect burn. Proposed pairing on that scotch, like a Glenlivet or a Glenfiddich, something that has a little bit of fruit to it. Or a fruity cocktail maybe, or a Long Island iced tea if you're really committed.
Yeah.
Long
Island iced tea, the drink that takes longer to make than it does to drink.
Yes. And make 2 because you're going to want to, and then you're done.
Yeah.
The second third of the cigar ash dropped immediately onto my shirt, which is why I had to change shirts. With cedar as a foundation, leather and nutty notes pile on top with a spicy, slightly fruity, maybe tamarind kind of note. Toast and coffee, I'm getting through here. Retrohale's campfire, nutty, and toast with a bit of spice. Solid ash, perfect burn. The last third is tangy leather is pronounced towards the end. Retrohale's campfire, cedar, and toast. Solid ash, perfect burn. Coming in at about $12 per stick for this beautiful cigar. First off, $12 per stick for how beautiful this cigar is pretty good already.
Yeah.
The flavor profile on this is exactly what you want it to be. It's right on the edge of medium and mild.
Okay.
I would say it's probably just barely pushing into medium.
So nice morning cigar.
Yeah, great morning cigar. Great for if you're not a regular cigar smoker. You want something that has a tiny bit of spice, but not too big. No overwhelming palate. I gave it a 5.5. It pushes just above its price point. It smoked perfectly, and it was a wonderful experience.
And for those who may be new to the show, our sort of price to quality index that we like to use when we're talking about cigars, it's a 1 to 10 scale, but if you rate something a 5, it means you got what you paid for. And so you said this is how much? This
5.5.
$11
Oh,
cigar?
yeah, $12.
A $12 cigar. So a 5.5 is a pretty good.
premium.
Yeah, sure. It's a pretty good rating for that. So nicely done.
Yeah, premium cigar, but also premium flavors.
I was first exposed to Lone Pint Brewing Company a number of years back when I ordered one at a restaurant. And they had the I liked IPAs. They had the Lone Pint Yellow Rose on the menu. I tried it, and instantly I was like, I have to find out more about this.
You called me after that. You were so excited.
I said I just had like the best IPA of my life,
Yes.
and it was kind of a revelatory experience, if you will. Went on to find out about the brewery, and not too long after that, Lone Pint beers, particularly Yellow Rose, became available at retail. And so I began buying them and have been ever since. Lone Pint Yellow Rose continues to be in my top 3 IPAs of all time anywhere. It's just such a wonderfully balanced and amazingly well-crafted IPA. And we'll drink some Yellow Rose a little bit later in the show, but right now we're drinking something that you guys came out with. This is what, about a year ago? Or
Yeah,
has it been more than that?
It's probably about a year.
So this is called Little Rose, and it is a maybe more crushable, slightly lower ABV, designed maybe for happy summertime drinking. version of Yellow Rose.
Yeah, correct. It's so what we did was he took the Yellow Rose and made it a little bit lighter, easier to drink. We don't have the ability to make a Pilsner where we're at yet, so we wanted something kind of in between a Pilsner and Yellow Rose. And so
a little more sessionable. I have to tell you, the nose on this is beautiful. Like I want to smell like this.
What I love
It
about
smells
it,
so good and so fresh.
what I love about it is when you take that first sip, it's all Yellow Rose. Like that's the first thing that comes to your mind if you've been drinking Yellow Rose as long as I have. This tastes like Yellow Rose. It doesn't taste like, your immediate response is, this is not some watered down version of Yellow Rose. This is a Yellow Rose.
Sure. And this is, I like to think of this as you're sitting by the pool, Yellow Rose, or, I smoke a lot of meat. And so this is something you can drink while smoking a brisket and not get absolutely snockered before you get done.
Sometimes it takes a while to smoke a brisket. So, yeah.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. No, I think this is great. And with us being now smack dab in summertime, especially here in Texas, this is a welcome addition to the
So
cooler.
you guys managed to make it Yellow Rose right up front. I mean, you get that hop right up front, and then whereas with the normal Yellow Rose, it's got so much body to it that the next part of the palate just gets I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but you get this big, huge, round body to it, and some maltiness, and then it finishes with that beautiful hop finish, citrusy hop finish. This Little Rose, I think there's a little trick you guys did in here because it comes up with the Yellow Rose right up front, and then there's a little more carbonation to this, so it almost comes across like it has a little more body than it has, but it also has a little bit of spicy feel to it, which is really, really nice. Like it's carbonated to perfection.
Is this more carbonated than the regular Yellow Rose, or is it about the same?
It should be about the same.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It feels more carbureted.
And that may just be because it's a little bit lighter.
Carbureted.
Carbureted.
This is my favorite carbureted beer.
It's already working, right?
All right, all right, we have got to take a break. We're a little over time on this segment, but we'll be back momentarily. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are talking about some excellent craft beer today because the Lone Pint guys are in the studio, and we're very excited about that. But a few things to get to first of all. So, Terry, you're up.
Gotta get the button pushed.
I know. I've got you doing
And
8
now
things.
it's time for another Smoking and Toasting Drunken Fact.
See, that's the fanfare we can't live without. That's
We only
just,
changed one syllable, but it works so well.
Well, the drunken fact, as I mentioned earlier, this is a good fact to try to remember, and then you can, sound like somebody who's really smart the next time you're out at, a party or doing something, and people have begun to. I think I already passed him the Yellow Rose, or the wheat beer rather. So that one's yours. So in any case, we are glad to be here. Glad to be bringing you the drunken fact. This will make you sound like a very interesting person to talk to at your next party. Our drunken fact for today: most Korean people don't have armpit odor.
I was not expecting
There's
that.
a very blank expression on your face. Research.
There are many things that you could have said at that moment.
Is that why they never showed the showers in the Squid Game?
That's right. Research at the University of Bristol found that only 0.0006% of the Korean population has the ABCC11 gene, which is the gene that causes armpit odor. So, there you go.
Wow.
I thought it was bacteria.
I've met people who have many of that gene.
I had a really good friend in college who was Korean, and now I know why he would give me like weird looks sometimes. He just wasn't used to someone that could actually generate armpit odor,
That's why he was looking at you funny.
Yeah, right. Which explains why sales of Irish Spring in South Korea are really not all that good.
It's just not their market.
Yeah, it's not their market. So, there's your drunken fact, and see that will make you a hit at parties. I'm telling you. Thank you. just
You
punctuates
can kind of put that in anywhere.
Yeah, really, it's
Just
fun.
as a punctuation.
I smoked an interesting cigar this week. It was the Espinosa Sumatra Toro. And I reviewed the Espinosa Knuckle Sandwich on the show a few months back, and I remember really, really liking it. So I was excited about this one, which Espinosa added to their line after the success of their Guy Fieri collab on the Knuckle Sandwich. It sports an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper with binder and filler from Nicaragua, and it's rolled in Nicaragua as well. It's a very pretty cigar, light brown in color, very few noticeable veins, and a silver and purple main band, along with a silvery cloth band at the foot. Very classy. Pre-light sniff on this offered dry earth and a wood note. I got those things plus nuts and pepper on the cold draw, so I used a V-cut and then torched the end of it to get the cigar started. First few puffs were very tight, and as a result, I had to hold the flame on it longer to get it started. The result was a bit of a charred initial flavor that finally settled and dissipated, and then what remained was pepper and cedar with a hint of nuttiness that kind of came and went. Right off the bat, though, the tightness of the draw was a problem. Even though I was able to pull smoke through the Espinosa Sumatra Toro, I was having to draw hard enough and often enough that it was making harshness the overwhelming flavor note.
Frustrating.
I have been talking about this more lately. Nothing ruins a cigar for me more than it having too tight of a draw. I'd rather smoke an exploding Gurkha and put up with it falling apart as long as I can actually draw and get some flavor from the cigar than have something that's too tight of a draw. I decided less than a quarter inch in, I decided I was going to have to need to use my Perfect Draw cigar tool. Those guys are not a sponsor of the show, by the way, but they should be because we're giving them a lot of free mentions lately. After several
You
pokes,
gave me one of those. I love that thing.
Oh, it's a wonderful tool. After several pokes and twists with the Perfect Draw, the cigar seemed to smoke a little better. The harshness diminished, and I was able to get back to the flavors themselves. By the second third, the cigar was smoking a little better, still just a bit tight, bit hotter than I liked, but better. The cedar note and earth came to the forefront with pepper on the finish as well as baking spice. This was not a Nicaraguan pepper bomb by any means. I'd peg it right at medium-bodied and medium strength. Now, I will mention that while I was initially frustrated by the draw, the burn on the Espinosa Sumatra Toro was just about perfect. And you can see that in some of these pictures if you're watching the video version of the show. No issues with the construction other than the draw. The burn line was pretty straight all the way through. In the final third, I got a little more pepper, kicking up the strength just a notch, along with the cedar note that maintained pretty much throughout the whole smoke. The worst thing that I can tell you about the Espinosa Sumatra Toro was the draw, which threatened to ruin the whole experience. The best thing I can tell you is that after I used a cigar tool, the draw improved enough that I was able to enjoy the rest of the smoke. I have had several cigars recently that no matter what I did with the cigar tool, they never became really enjoyable to smoke. This one did, which I was very thankful for. And I will add that I looked up a couple of reviews online for this Sumatra Toro, and I didn't find anyone who was mentioning a draw issue. So I'm guessing it was likely a problem, maybe just unique to the particular cigar that I had. That said, while the flavors and notes were enjoyable, I doubt it's a blend that I'm going to find myself reaching for anytime in the future. I wound up enjoying it, but probably not enough to justify the price, which is, depending on where you buy it, $11 to $12. That is not outrageous, but there's so many cigars I like better at that price point. So that plus the draw issues, my price to quality score is a 4. I recommend skip this one and pick up Espinosa's Knuckle Sandwich instead, because that one is well worth the price.
Right.
So there you go. Speaking of well worth the price, we have a brand new. So you just poured. This is a wheat beer.
Yeah, so
this one?
we have a relatively new series that we're doing called Brewers Select, and both of these beers we're about to try are part of that series. So
is this something that is available at retail, or is this just at the tap room?
So it's available both in cans and kegs.
Okay.
And so we have two here. We have an American wheat, which we did, and then we also have a black IPA. And these are recipes that are come up with by some of the other brewers in the brewery, and we make usually a test batch, and if we like it, then we make a small batch that goes out to the market, and then we kind of reevaluate from there. So both of these have been very well received, so we hope you enjoy them.
I like the way you say some of the other brewers just like, okay, Fred, we'll make your wheat beer. Yeah.
This has a beautiful weediness to it, fresh wheat, a little bit of funk to it that I absolutely love. And it's crispy on the finish, which is a little unusual. It's a little more hops than I'm used to in a wheat beer.
I was going to say, it's you definitely get the wheat up front, but it almost finishes like an IPA.
Yeah, so it's we decided to try with some noble hops. These are basically, it's Haltauer Blanc, which is a German hop, and then Saaz, which is typically used in Czech Pilsners and
It
things like
finishes
that. That's where you're getting the crispy
hoppy,
note.
but yeah, crispy and clean. Almost crispy like an apple, like a green apple kind of crisp to it.
Wheat beer is not a style that I just kind of instinctively reach for, but this is probably one of my favorite wheats I've ever tried. This is just really nice on the palate.
This, again, I'm the same way. Wheat beers, there's a few that I think are outstanding. On the market, Live Oak makes a Hefeweizen that's just outrageously good. But it's not, wheat beers in general are just not a style that I reach for. This, however,
But I just want to mention, this is not in any way, shape, or form a Hefeweizen. There's none of that banana sort of flavor that you get from a good Hefe. But this is just really fresh and crisp. But the wheat gives it this sort of like balance of flavor. I guess it's the wheat.
The wheat gives it a nice little toasty breadiness at the end.
This kind of wants food with it too. Like, this is a very
a food-friendly beer. I like that.
Beer, I think.
I like that. That is absolutely wonderful. And this is okay. So are these available for a limited time in this series? Is that what you said?
Yes, they're usually very limited. Now, if we do get a lot of great feedback, it is one of those things that can always be pulled out of the series, and we may make more of. But they're initially very limited runs. So if you like them, buy them quickly. And then let us know that you love them so that we know that we can or we should make them again.
If we go like to your website, do you give us advance notice of things like this when they're coming out? Is there a way for us to know to be on the lookout for one of these that's new in the series that might be very limited?
Sure, not as much on the website, more on social media.
Okay.
But yeah, we
and what's your best social media? Instagram, Facebook?
Facebook, Instagram, both we're very active on. But I would say probably the one that gets the most traffic is our Facebook.
Okay. Well, I would love to know. Oh, this is something I need to be watching for because it can be a little overwhelming sometimes when you're at the beer aisle at your favorite place to shop for beer because there's just so many cans and so much choice, and you're like, if you have an idea what you're looking for when you go in, it could be helpful. So,
you try this yet?
Not yet. I wanted to ask you. You poured these two together, the wheat beer and now a black IPA, which I'm super excited about. But what is the connection between these two?
So these are both part of that Brewer Select series. So small batch kind of experimental beers that we're doing, we're releasing under that series. They'll all have very similar labels. That'll just be kind of an area on the bottom of the can that talks about the style. So once you've seen a couple of them, you'll kind of know when you see that label, hey, this is something new they're doing. I want to check it out. And then there will be a label on the bottom below the logo that says exactly what it is.
So this is incredible. This is like my favorite IPA with coffee added somehow.
This is like a porter and an IPA had a baby.
It absolutely well said. I agree. And this is so. What makes you?
And it's dry too.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It finishes dry, and it just leaves you with that wonderful coffee and hop taste on the finish. What makes you decide once you put one of these out?
This is like coffee porter kind of good.
What makes you decide?
Outrageous.
Okay, we want to put this out on a regular basis. Can we do letter writing campaigns? What is the
it's really feedback, but keep in mind we decide on the seasonal rotation a year ahead, almost 6 months ahead. So that's why, as Blake said, if you get feedback, we need feedback before we decide on next year's portfolio. For example, the American Wheat is a great summertime hit. We want to maybe pull it out and put it in the summertime.
You do feedback in form of comments on Facebook, those kind of things?
Emails, anything.
Emails, all that stuff.
All of it.
I really love black IPAs, but I'm wondering is this more of a niche type of thing? Maybe not as many people fans of that as other styles. Is it kind of a
They kind of got
stepson of IPA?
they got popular for a while, and it was kind of everybody was making one, and then they kind of got overblown and just completely went away. So it was funny when we released this, we got a lot of feedback of, oh my goodness, I haven't had a black IPA in so long, I forgot anybody ever made them. And then they drink it and they go, oh my gosh, this is incredible. How come we're not still making them?
Why
what happened?
I think the black IPA had a shorter lifespan, but it also kind of went through what IPAs went through in general. Is someone made it, and then it got kind of popular, and then everyone had to outdo the next one,
Right.
and then it turns into tar with some IPA flavor on the back end, and then finally,
you remember the Great Hop Race? That's what we called it. When everybody was trying to make an IPA that was hoppier than the other guy's
and
IPA.
by the way, Stone won.
Yeah, they won, and everybody else kept trying, and it was pointless after that. But seriously, this is something that needs to be in like regular
This
rotation.
is a little bit special. This is something I would buy in a bomber and share.
Yeah.
But if I don't have to, that's even better.
Sure. I mean, maybe it was ahead of its time. That's the way I kind of look at it when it came out. Maybe the public wasn't ready for this flavor profile.
So this is something that you brought back then? This particular brew existed
this
before?
No, not this exact brew, no, but this style. And this was actually one of the ones, so this being part of the Brewer Select series, this was actually a recipe that was developed by one of our brewers. His name's Ryan, who's relatively new to Lone Pint. So this is one of his first beers that he's getting to get out into the market. So we were very excited to try something different, and it's a little bit different than some of the other things we're doing. So, that's kind of the point of this series is to, experiment and try some different things. And, some of them are going to work and some of them are going to be,
I could see this going so well with a dark chocolatey like a Nica Libre.
Oh yeah, or even just something very earthy like a San Lotano Maduro from AJ Fernandez. Well, I just want to say on behalf of IPA fans everywhere, good hire. This Ryan dude has got it going on. Ryan, if you're listening there at the brewery, cheers to you, man. This is your first one. Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well, all right, we have some more beers to talk about. We have some mezcal to try, and we want to get into cult favorite whiskeys. I think this is something you'll find interesting, Ian. So, lot to do, lot to talk about. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we will be right back. Yes. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are glad that you're here. We just tasted. I just went crazy for this black IPA. I'm just absolutely loving this. And is this on shelves now?
No, you can maybe find some lingering 6-packs here and there, but it was our first quarter.
What was your first quarter? Okay.
Brewer Select release. Now the American Wheat's the most recent.
I hate that I missed out on this, and I love the American Wheat, and I will get some of that. But this is absolutely wonderful. And, the first time that I tasted, we told the story, the first time that I tasted Yellow Rose, this is a number of years ago, I called Ian and told him that's what a big deal it was to me at the time. And I've been a core fan of yours ever since. We'll try anything that you put out. And Terry was telling an interesting story during the break about one of the previous times you guys were on the show. He got a Lone Pint Yellow Rose hat.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And what happened to you? You were at a water park?
I was at the Texas Typhoon Water Park, and when I was standing in line, there was a guy there, and he saw the hat immediately, and he was just like, "I love Lone Pint. I love to go." I mean, it was instant street cred. It was good. And I learned when y'all had come on that time that I really liked the beer as well.
I think it's interesting because there's so many different beers out there, and there's so many of them that I enjoy. There's certain ones that I'm really passionate about. And I would say that my passion for what you guys do makes me kind of a core customer, if you will, for you guys. I came across an interesting quote this morning, actually, that I made a copy of so that I could share it with my staff in another meeting. But it was a quote from a guy that does, he does, consulting for businesses and is talking about how to best market your business and what have you. And he said this, and I thought this was really fascinating. He said, build your business around your best customers. In the user-centric era, the currency is not reach, it's love. Cater to the fans who love your stuff, and their passion will fuel your flywheel. That's what I feel like you guys have done, maybe differently than some other brewers. Rather than trying to expand and get your core line to be, 13 or 14 beers wide, you've really catered to the people who are already saying, wow, this is a favorite. This is something that I'm going to always drink. This is a company that I'm going to drink every new thing they put out because I have that kind of passion for what you do. And I don't know, that you can't just make that up.
So I think some of that selfishness, right? Like, we really try to make beers that we want to drink. At the end of the day, we're not.
You got good taste.
Right.
But we're not chasing things, and people will often ask us, "Why don't you make this sort of beer or that sort of beer?" And the short answer is that's not what we drink. And so we make things that we love, and we're very, very lucky that we found a customer base that loves the same things.
I get that there's luck to it. I do, but I think it's more than that. And I think you're being gracious and you're being,
have 4 beers in your core line right now. Correct. Which is a pretty small amount of beers, I think, for some breweries. However, you guys also are distributed throughout Texas.
Texas and Louisiana.
Yes. Now. So you're starting to get your reach out. That's pretty nice. And if you happen to be in the area in Magnolia, Texas, by the way, it's a little bit of a drive from Houston, but it's beautiful out there. Your tap room is really fun.
It is. We've done a show from the tap room. It was a lot of fun.
And it's an outdoor thing, so if you're in Texas, it's going to be hot.
Yeah.
But that's okay because you're drinking nice cold beer.
Oh, it was good. Y'all had some fruit that y'all had put in a beer there. When I was there.
It was mango.
Oh, it was delicious.
Yeah,
it was so good.
It really was.
Also, one of your guys made salsa last time I was there, and I bought it.
It's one of the bartenders.
So good. I'm liking this already.
The hot salsa was so good.
I'm liking this already. But I think what separates you guys from a lot of breweries is the fact that you have focused so much on your core, on the customers who love what you do, on the beers, like you're saying, that are the kind of beers you guys like to drink. You're like, well, if we like them this much, maybe other people will like them, instead of we got to have something for everybody. You guys go against the grain a little bit because most breweries, I feel like, are in that. Well, okay, we got to have an IPA. We got to have this lager.
We got to walk up to. I got to sift through the IPAs to even see if they have anything else.
See, you're such an IPA hater. I just can't. I can't.
I'm not a hater. I'm just, there's so many of them. I want to try something else.
Yeah, I get it, and I enjoy trying something else too. But you know what's mostly in my beer fridge? IPAs, yeah. and almost always, by the way, IPAs from Lone Pint. So, yeah. I always mispronounce it. Your Zythophile. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Your Zythophile series. This is a series you guys do, and these are available even downstairs in my little grocery store, which I love. But this is a series you guys do where you experiment with. Is it different hops based on kind of mash bills that you already are using for other beers? Is that the way that series works?
So the series started originally, it was called the Pioneer Series, and that's how Yellow Rose came to be. It
was part of that series. Wow.
Let's simplify it. Let's just do one malt, one hop, our house yeast, and get to the bottom of what this hop's all about. And then you could build flavor profiles by combining with other things. Yellow Rose came to be that way. And so we kind of just renamed it Zythophile, which is, on Urban Dictionary for beer lover. And,
I love it. Yeah.
And then took it to the next level. And so we did a lot of new hops, and then we found there's a lot that just aren't part of the series. They just don't work. They're either for
this is the same base as Yellow Rose.
Correct.
But with different hops.
Correct.
And it changes from time to time. Like I'm always looking to see, have I had this one yet? Which is, it's so much for somebody who likes IPAs as much as I do. It's so much fun finding, when I find a new one, I find the new one that you've just put out, because you do one a quarter, you said. Correct. So I think that's it's just such a cool approach. I just really love the way, we talk to a lot of brewers and a lot of beer reps and a lot of people. There just seems to be this certain passion that you guys have for what you're making that I really identify with. And maybe it's just because I love the beer so much, but it's just, I can't get around it. And I think that again, it gets back to that focus on creating things that you love and that you've found customers that love those things. If your focus is there, it's going to be hard for you to go wrong. And we're not in a phase right now where craft brewing is continuing to expand. It's actually contracting right now because a lot of people, launched a craft brewery, maybe got in a little over their head. But I think if you've focused on the customers that love what you're doing, that's going to be the best insurance policy to kind of be able to stay the course when things aren't in a growth phase. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I don't think anybody gets into brewing because they're going to, it's a winning lottery ticket. You have to have passion to be in it, and you have to have that love especially to stay in it for as long as we have.
And a lot of sanitizing.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to love sanitizing too, because that's a thing. All right, we're going to try to sanitize the show a little bit before hour 2. I'm just kidding. We never do that. We will be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting, craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Lone Pint in the studio, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome back into hour 2 of the show. It's program number 436, and we are excited to have Blake Neiderhofer and Trevor Brown from Lone Pint Brewery, one of our all-time favorites, here in the studio. And boy, we've been drinking some good beers so far. I mean,
absolutely.
It always happens with these guys, and I'm never surprised, but it's still such a wonderful thing,
So good.
You have to talk about it. You have to mention it. So, guys, welcome to the show. We're going to get to a few Lone Pint beers here in a moment. I noticed you poured us a triplets here. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah. So really, the only difference between these 3 beers are the hop that we use. So. The first beer that we're going to be trying is Yellow Rose, which is Mosaic.
I can't do that.
Yeah, okay, you can just pass yours over to Ian. I'm sure he'd be fine with that.
Wow.
And then we have Zythophile Bravo. Bravo is the hop for that one. And then we have Zythophile Chinook, which Chinook is the hop.
So we talked about this a little bit in the first hour, but basically the Zythophile series is where you take the basic mash bill for Yellow Rose, but you use a different hop than what you use in Yellow Rose, and see what the ultimate product tastes like. So, and you do 4 of these a year, one every quarter.
Correct.
And so, good. I got it all right so far. So this is really interesting because these side by side should be very good at helping you identify a particular hop kind of flavor, because it's single hop, right?
Right. Go ahead.
Does it actually say on here?
It's on the bottom.
Yeah, so that was the whole goal, is just to expose people to what each hop was.
Right.
What it can bring to the table. A lot of breweries use multiple hops. Sometimes they can combine too many hops and make, like colors, you make brown, basically. So you can't really tell what's bringing what to the table. And so it's just like cooking. You want to try the ingredient at its pure form. So to make it to just for an experience and know what you can do with it later.
Well, this is particularly interesting to me because one of the things when I first started, trying to learn how to identify flavor notes in, say, cigars, what I would do is I would go and look at a review of the cigar, and they would say, okay, this cigar had a toasty note, and I got pine nuts and leather. And so then when I smoked the cigar, I would try to see if I could identify those. And that was one of the ways I learned how to sort of pick out what the flavors were in the cigar. With hops, I think it's always a little more complicated because, like you said, so many breweries are using several different kind of hops to achieve, whatever the flavor balance is they're looking for. This is a great way to learn, okay, what is it? What exactly does a Chinook hop add to the flavor profile when you find this one, And
we do get a little bit of guidance from the hop growers themselves and then from the hop suppliers. They do intensive testing on the different types of hops, and they send us basically a flavor profile.
Right. This is what it's
but
expected.
You never really know until you brew with it and it interacts with your yeast and your system and everything else. There's hundreds of different variables, and so you never really know until you try it yourself. And that's kind of what this series is all about, is for us to kind of take that hop and distill it down to its its essence.
I think I asked you this question the last time you guys were on, but what does it mean when you say Yellow Rose Smash IPA? What is a Smash IPA?
Smash IPA is a single malt and single hop IPA.
Single malt, okay, single malt and single hop. So that's what single malt and single hop is what spells Smash, right?
Correct.
All right. So single malt, single hop, and what is the hop in Yellow Rose?
Mosaic.
Mosaic, which is one of my favorites, not surprisingly. All right, so we know what this tastes like, but I hope you don't mind if I just refamiliarize myself.
Please.
Sure.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, when we brewed with Mosaic the first time in our series here, this is one of the first ones, it had just been named, but it was HBC 369 forever.
Which sounds like something that they're trying to push through Congress. You know?
It does, yeah, it does.
That connects to the Canuter valve.
Yeah.
So they always have an alphanumeric code for new hops, and if they're popular, then they get named.
They get a name.
They
Okay.
get a cool
Well,
name.
Mosaic's a cool name. Yeah, I like it. And so Yellow Rose from the get-go has always been this one hop Mosaic.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
All right. So then you go to Zythophile, where you don't add the Mosaic, you add instead a different hop. And I'm just curious, do some hops require you adding a larger or smaller quantity than you might with the Mosaic and the regular?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's interesting. And is that because they're stronger or not stronger? Is that too simple to explain why?
We typically look at the there are certain numbers that are provided by the hop purveyors. Alpha acids are one of them, so we can kind of get an idea of what's in the hop and how bitter it's going to make the beer, and so we can kind of ballpark where we want it to be. It's not always perfect, but
Yeah.
it's a good place for us to start.
I'm just curious, what, like, if I'm drinking, which I try not to, but if I'm drinking a Budweiser or a Bud Light, what kind of hop are they using in that?
It's one of the old school ones, like
Yeah.
Galena, or it's one of the Comet was one of those.
So it's
back
not
in
going to
the
be
day, so.
any of the hops that
but-
we're kind of used to from craft brewing?
No, well, especially nowadays. So what Budweiser probably, I don't want to speak for them, but what Budweiser probably does is they definitely use hop oils, but it's probably a blend based on their criteria.
Based on what they're
Yeah,
trying to
so
achieve from a
who
flavor
knows
standpoint.
what's in that hop oil.
Interesting.
So-
So the second one, the hop in this is...
So nobody's standing above the mash tun with a shaker.
Right. Bravo. So this is the same mash bill as Yellow Rose.
It's
The only difference is the hop.
it's incredibly
Yes.
different though.
It is incredibly different. Now,
Yeah.
there is some underlying familiarity,
Right.
I would say, to Yellow Rose, but this hop has, I don't know, how would you describe it, Ian? I'm kind of at a loss for words here.
There's almost
how to
an
say it.
earthiness to the hoppiness, if that makes any sense.
So yeah, so this hop is a lot of people don't use it. It's pretty. It can be spicy and a little rough around the edges, and we weren't scared of that. We wanted to try it, but it's one of the first hops that can grow in warmer climes below the normal. Latitudes that hops grow, and it was actually cultivated for use. I think it's used in a lot of more southern or South American or Central American beers.
It's got a little citrus zest to it, kind of on the top of the palate. That's not the primary flavor, but it's a little bit of what you're left with on the finish, a little citrus zest on your tongue.
Yeah, it's known as a wild hop basically before. It was brought in, so.
It's interesting how it interacts with the sweetness up front too. It kind of what's the kind of, it's got this kind of bitterness to it that it's less sour,
Right.
and it's more of a straight up kind of bitter.
I was going to say
That makes
it
any
comes
sense.
off more bitter than Yellow Rose, but pleasantly so. I mean,
Almost
it's not
almost like you're getting an ESB kind of bitters.
Yeah, less citrusy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just got this like kind of earthiness to it. It's really interesting.
I like it. It does remind me of an ESB now that you say that.
Yeah, because the way it finishes is a little more.
ESB is like a very not nearly as popular a style as I feel like it needs to be.
True.
I love ESP.
And when you say
think the
ESP,
name
it's
scares
more
people.
one-dimensional, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
It's
But,
a one-dimensional hop.
And I think you're right. I think the name scares people. Ooh, extra special bitter. Oh no, I won't like.
I mean,
that.
it's hard to go wrong with malt and bitter, though.
Yeah. Well,
That's true.
like this.
I'm going to say it's hard to go wrong with this. This is wonderful. It's surprise. I almost expect, and this is probably not a realistic thing, but I almost expect these Zythophile series to not be quite as easy drinking as Yellow Rose, because you're trying maybe a different or more experimental hop. So I'm expecting them to be, maybe a little funkier, interesting, flavorful, but not necessarily as quaffable on a summer day. This is a pretty easy drinking beer right here.
No, and one of the things that you alluded to the hops race earlier. One of the things that's always been important to us is finding balance. And I think when you're able to balance kind of that malt bill with the hops and not just see how hoppy you can make something,
Right.
It makes things so much more enjoyable.
It definitely was kind of a hops race for a while. And there were some not very delicious beers that were released as people tried to just see how hoppy they could make it. And you're, as Ian would say, kind of like drinking a pine cone in certain times.
Who made Hop Slam?
Yeah, but your Hop Slam.
That was a pine cone.
Right.
What was Hop Slam? I'm
I
trying to
can't
remember
remember who made it.
Yeah.
Someone, Lagunitas maybe, or one of those.
I don't think it was Lagunitas.
Someone made one called Hop Slam that was basically
But-
chewing on a pine cone.
But I will tell you, though, you guys have always had, starting with Yellow Rose, the beauty of that beer to me is the balance. It's just so well balanced. And the fact that you can change up the hops and find a similar kind of balance in the Zythophile series, one every quarter, I think it's pretty
Did
remarkable.
you try this Cowboy yet?
I have not tried.
So-
Would you call it the Cowboy?
First off, the nose. It has a lot less nose on it than the other two. If I didn't smell the other two first, I'd probably say, wow, that smells pretty big. But
And tell me the hop again with this one.
Chinook on this one.
Chinook. Okay.
this one's incredibly interesting because the spice is right up front on the tip of the tongue.
Yep.
And then it has a soft finish to it.
You're right. The finish is very just kind of mellow and soft, and doesn't leave you with with the lingering bitter that is kind of associated with
Again,
IPAs.
compared to the other two, it has a softer finish.
Right.
There's also a creaminess to this one that almost comes through more.
And there's nothing different other than the hops, right?
That's correct.
Which is what makes these so interesting to taste side by side.
Right.
Because as Ian said, this is very creamy, and that all comes from the hops.
Sure. And Chinook is just a little background. It's one of the OGs. It's what started the craft brewing movement back in the day with Sierra Nevada. There were 3 C. They call it the 3 Cs: Cascade, Centennial, Chinook.
It's a little more floral.
And this hop was, funny you say that, was the bittering hop of the group.
Wow.
It was
interesting.
mostly used as a bittering hop, but then later a finishing hop, but hardly ever a dry hop. But we did everything with this.
So this is one of the ones, like if I'm drinking a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I'm getting some of this hop.
As far as I know, I don't know the recipes, but as far as I know, yeah, Cascade mostly and some Chinook. Yeah, that's what really started.
When you
and
go back
Centennial.
to the Yellow Rose,
After these,
it really highlights the citrusy side of everything.
Oh, it
The
sure
Yellow
does.
Rose.
Yeah.
It's fruity, yeah.
And the Yellow Rose is a bit like that to begin with, but you don't realize it until you take that away a little bit, and then
it almost has a
Go back and
citrus
taste it.
sweetness after these others, which is so interesting.
And almost a grape fruitiness to it.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Again, probably why this has been a favorite beer of mine for a number of years now, and I like to feel like I am at least partially responsible, just based on my purchases, for you guys being able to do well and come through the COVID era.
he's paying for at least a part of your
We are
diet.
greatly appreciative.
That's right. Absolutely right. We got to take a break. We will be back. We have some. This will be quite a change up. We're going to try some Anejo Mezcal
Now for
in our
something
in our
completely
next segment and see how this all works out. We'll be right back. Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer fine spirits and hand-rolled cigars. We're up to show number 436, which is a lot of beers and a lot of spirits.
I sat down and did the math on that the other day. That is almost exactly halfway to 500.
Good to know. It's important for us to keep track of these things as we go. During the break, Blake, you mentioned that you might have an idea what the koji fermentation is,
right?
Which we talked about with whiskey.
It is something that's very common in Japanese distilling and fermentation. It's basically they inoculate the grain that's ultimately going to be fermented with a mold that helps break down the starches and the sugars in the grain into something that's easily fermentable. But it has that flavor that you get from sake that you don't get from much else.
Right.
And so it lives through the distillation process.
A little bit of that flavor we were talking about in the Beverage of Mystery earlier.
Exactly.
In the show,
so
right?
that's a lot of what we were getting in that Hitachino beer that we started with this morning.
Fascinating. Oh, yeah, that's all right. From the sublime to the ridiculous, it's time for drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, Drinking News is our segment of the program where we bring you a story that is it's a true story, the best we can tell. It's not a parody or a joke. It's something that actually happened, was reported in the news, and it is sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but it's always best enjoyed if you've been.
Drinking is really thirsty work, you know.
Yeah, it really is. And by the way, I didn't mention this during the break, but we're ready to jump into another beer either at the end of the segment or the following one. If you've got something else for us to try, you can go ahead and dig it out while we do Drinking News.
Nudge,
Hint, nudge, nudge.
Well, say no more.
We begin today's edition of Drinking News with a question for you, dear listener. Have you ever met or become aware of someone so enchanting, so beautiful, so absolutely sexy and alluring that you would be willing to actually drink their bathwater? Love and lust and
I don't
infatuation.
know what situation you'd be put in where you have to do that.
It's not a thing you would have to do. This would be something you see. Love and lust and infatuation, they're crazy things, and they can make a person do crazy things. Having done some crazy stuff myself, I will, however, admit that I've always drawn the line just a little short of drinking someone's bathwater. But actress Sydney Sweeney.
You thought to have that line there.
Yeah, it's important to have boundaries, right? Actress Sydney Sweeney from the very sexy show Euphoria, which I have to admit, she looks absolutely sizzling hot in those TV commercials that she did for Dr. Squatch's line of body wash for men. Sydney has now taken things one step further. Oh, YouTube it. It's worth the watch. But Sydney has now taken things one step further. And yes, that's right, all you horny and excessively weird dudes, be on the lookout for a new product.
Hey, don't kink shame me.
From
What about
Dr.
the horny,
Squatch.
non-weird ones?
New product from Dr. Squatch called
Dr. Squatch.
Sydney's Bathwater Bliss, which is made in part from, you guessed it, Sydney Sweeney's actual bathwater.
Wow.
Sydney says fans had been actually asking her for her bathwater. So this was a way to give them what they want.
Why was so...
Because she was in this commercial for like men's, body wash, right? And in it, she's in the bathtub. Obviously, she's, you can't see any nudity or anything, but she's in the bathtub and she looks smoking hot. And she's talking about the body wash, and I guess guys got excited and started, messaging her and telling her they wanted.
This is what happens when you advertise for the 18 to 25 audience.
I don't know what to say about that.
16 to 25.
Sydney says because fans have been asking for a bathwater, that this was a way to give them what they want. My hope, she says, is that it gets guys to think about taking care of themselves and cleaning themselves with some healthy products.
Yep, that's actually what they're thinking about when they put that on.
What she's trying to say is it's called soap, guys.
Yeah, I think the actual emphasis there may have been on taking care of themselves. I haven't seen an actual...
Wait a second. You know that?
It's called the
Thank you, Terry.
It's called the lawnmower. Have you not seen this on Manscaped?
I haven't seen an actual bar of this soap, so I don't know if it comes with this warning, but I will give it to you anyway. Guys, don't lick the soap, okay? Please. I will also neither confirm nor deny that Drinking News has reached out to Dr. Squatch, which is a very naughty-sounding name, by the way, to ask if they'd be interested in sponsoring the show. You'll just have to stay tuned about that. But our main story today in Drinking News takes us back to a place that is a frequent source of material on this segment of Smokin' and Toastin'. Specifically, a bus stop in the Clearwater area of the Sunshine State, where police were called because 56-year-old James Bundrick, a Florida man, was reportedly touching himself in a lewd fashion
Florida man stuff.
while he waited for the bus. When officers arrived, they found the Florida man with his hands in his shorts, taking his talents to South Beach, as it were.
A little bit of pocket pool.
Or as they might say on Star Trek, causing a small singularity that shifts the chronoton particles in one's hull to emit a positronic burst.
Left ball to the corner pocket.
Or as the cops put it more simply in their report, despite the fact that he told them he was only scratching himself, the Florida man was clearly masturbating.
Smell my finger.
Now, why do I bring up Star Trek, you might ask? Well, number one, because I am a certified Trekkie.
Wait, was he wearing a red shirt?
Or a Trekker, as the show's fans prefer to be known. Although I would describe myself as a more casual Star Trek fan. As I like to put it, I will go to the Star Trek convention, but I won't wear the pointed ears. That's
you
where
don't speak Klingon in public.
Boundaries, that's important. But the real reason I bring up this classic sci-fi show in the context of this story is because while being arrested, the 56-year-old Florida man told police that his name was James T. Kirk. Now, it turned out, of course, that the man was neither an admiral with Starfleet nor the captain of the USS Enterprise, but just a Florida man named James Bundrick. He was arrested on charges of...
Oh, that's not the same as James Tiberius.
No. He was arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and providing a false name to law enforcement. Now, obviously, the cops knew that he wasn't actually Captain Kirk. I mean, Captain Kirk would never be waiting for a bus. Except he did. In Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, when he and the crew of the Enterprise went back in time to modern-day Earth to save a pair of humpback whales named George and Gracie. I swear it made sense to me when I saw the movie. Anyway, the point is, it has been very well established that in the time of Star Trek, that time travel is a thing that is possible. And so, while it's unlikely, it is certainly not inconceivable.
You just have to fly backwards around the world real fast.
Around the sun, yeah, slingshot around the sun. It's unlikely, but it's not inconceivable that Captain James Tiberius Kirk could have been sitting at a bus stop in Florida waiting for a bus. But why would he have had his hands in his pants working on the captain's log?
No.
I can actually think of several. Which is
Why do
why
I feel like that was a long walk for that?
it doesn't matter how long the walk is. It matters what you find when you get
It
there.
was great. It was amazing.
I can actually think of several reasons
I feel used.
why this might have
That
occurred.
was great.
And that's why I've now completely disappointed my own parents and extended family by crafting my thoughts into another handy, but not at all asked for, Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the top 5 reasons Captain Kirk might have been spanking the Talaxian monkey at a bus stop. Top 5 reasons Captain Kirk might have taken matters into his own hands. Number 5.
Wouldn't it be in his own hand? I mean, he was just using one.
Yeah. Number 5, he became so aroused while watching Klingon porn on his tricorder that he forgot where he was. Number 4, a strange transporter malfunction beamed down one guy to the bus stop who was half Captain Kirk and half Pee Wee Herman. Number 3, he actually was scratching. Those interstellar crabs he picked up on Talos 4 itched like a Danubian tentacle worm.
Trouble with tribbles?
Number 2.
You said what? Danubian tentacle worm?
Number 2, became confused about planetary culture. Thought that this was the way bus passengers on this planet say, live long and prosper. And the number 1 reason Captain James T. Kirk might have been spanking the Talaxian monkey at the bus stop. Number 1, he'd bought a bar of Sydney Sweeney's Bathwater Bliss and he just couldn't help himself. Reporting live from Clearwater, where the city council has just introduced a bill to rename the city Sydney's Bathwater, Florida. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right, I just wanted to mention, we didn't get to talk a lot about this mezcal. This may be my favorite mezcal I've ever had.
It's pretty good.
I'm a tequila guy, and sometimes the idea of mezcal just being a smokier, stepbrother to tequila, I enjoy it, but I don't embrace it the way I do tequila. This I can really get behind. I like
it's
this.
really good.
There's a strange tanginess to it that I really like too.
It's just got a little bit of that maturity of like a barrel-aged, Anejo tequila.
There's almost a
plus the smoke.
chocolate note on the retrohale.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm digging it.
I'm going to steal some more.
Speaking of things that I'm digging, I see some more beers poured here from Lone Pint. What am I looking at here?
So we're now into the stout section of the day. We have
this is Ian's favorite part.
Oh.
So we have 2 here. We have our Clover Chaser, which is a dry Irish stout. And then the one Ian's passing out right now is a Star Anise Stout. So,
okay.
If you're,
that's going to have that licorice vibe to it.
Yes. So if you,
all right, so which one is this? Is this?
That's the Clover Chaser, the Irish Stout.
That's the Irish Stout. So let's start there, and then we'll go.
That's definitely where you want to start.
Then we'll go to licorice. So, so you guys are not necessarily known for stouts. Is this something that you would ever put out in terms of available at retail, or is this something that's strictly at the tap room?
So the Clover Chaser we did put out in first quarter. So
Okay.
we have a very complicated, I can't talk about it, it's top secret as far as how we release our seasonals.
Right.
But Clover Chaser was our Q1
closed
seasonal.
meeting, lots of security.
Yeah, we have the Brewer Select, we have the
There's drinking
Zythophile,
involved.
and we have a regular seasonal. So
Wow.
this is the regular seasonal.
Well, this is wonderful. It's got a little more carbonation than I'm used to for a stout, but it totally works.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Ian?
Yes.
Typically, a dry Irish stout is carbonated with beer gas or mostly
Right.
nitrogen.
You
so
are,
that's why you're
uh,
saying it tastes harsher. Dry.
You were right on when you say dry. It is dry as delicious. It also finishes quickly. It's interesting how fast it finishes without a lingering bitter, because it is dry and a little bitter up front. You would almost expect it to linger like that, and it doesn't. It just finishes quickly.
Yeah, it really brings the flavor in the front end and then finishes quick, almost like a snap. The way that it finishes, I like it.
It almost leaves a gingerbread cookie kind of note in my mouth too. It's not as sweet as all that, but there's a little bit of that kind of almost a little chocolatey to it.
So you're saying that because it's an Irish stout, that's why it's got a little more carbonation than maybe like a milk stout or something like that?
No, I'm just saying that normally this beer style, like Guinness would be, or Murphy's would be consumed.
Yeah, because
with
Guinness
beer
certainly
gas,
has
so.
carbonation. There's no.
And I,
That's
doubt.
a CO2.
Yeah.
I also want to
Or
point
not
out that
CO2, that would be nitrous instead of a CO2,
I
right?
think the mezcal wrecked our palate for something like this.
It
but,
could happen. So it's interesting.
Probably. Am I tasting flavors way off?
I mean, it seems very well. Yeah, I can't taste
I'll
much
go
of
back to the IPA.
Re-wreck my palate. And then
it. I mean, that mezcal is smoky.
It really is.
I like mezcal, but that is Band-Aidy smoky. That's strong.
So interesting. I went back to using the IPA as a palate cleanser, which I don't necessarily recommend, but it does change what I would pick up flavor wise in the stout coming back. I'm getting now a little more of that coffee bean note and getting a little more just sort of the expected stout flavors, I guess is the best way I could say it. I like this. Mezcal notwithstanding, I like it. So now the next one, I feel like, and I know we're being played out with the music, so we'll come back to this in the next segment. But the next one has star anise in it, which is going to be
It's going to be very licorice
forward.
Yes.
So, all right, we'll get to that in the beginning of the next segment. It's Smoking and Toasting. We will return. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. A lot of times in the last couple of segments of our show, we like to go back and forth between the spirit that we've tasted and whatever like the final beer or two is. We're not going to do that today because I don't think that worked really well. It wasn't a great pairing. The mezcal I thought was great by itself, but I don't know if it's the right one.
Not so much with the beer.
Yeah, it's like, really hoppy IPAs and cigars. They're both great. They just don't play well together. Some IPAs more so than others, but in general. Now, I really enjoyed this one, particularly once I did a little bit of a palate cleanse, if you can call it that, with some IPA, and went back to this. But now this final version of this that we're trying, this is something completely different. Well, maybe not completely different, but significantly different, right?
On the nose, incredibly different.
So they're very different beers. This is not a anise version of the dry Irish stout.
Okay.
This is a completely different beer that's made with star anise. And so it's going to have a lot of those licorice notes. But where that dry Irish stout was, 4.2%, very light, this one's 8%. So this is a much larger beer.
I'm not a huge licorice fan, but I really kind of like this. The flavors just kind of work well together. The stout and the licorice, and it reminds me more of like those long vine of licorice things that you get at the movies than it does actual like those licorice candies that are like jelly beans that your grandma used to have or my grandma used to have. Don't like them at all. Yeah. It'd be like,
no, those are like little landmines in the
in the Jelly Belly collection. Yes, for sure. Like, Grandma,
landmines.
That's very well said. But this doesn't have. It's a much more pleasant licorice vibe.
It is subdued, and so we have a small pilot system at the brewery, and we brew some of these things that are just never really meant for mass market consumption. Just experimental things that the guys that are in operations like to do, or someone comes up with a weird idea like, hey, let's give this a shot, can we make it? And then we'll make it and we'll put it out at the beer garden. So there's if you make the trip up to Magnolia, you'll often be rewarded by finding beers that you might not see in the market that are still made by a great group of brewers.
Well, I love that for two reasons, because number one is if I make a drive to your brewery, I don't want to necessarily just walk up to the bar and order a yellow rose. I've had that. I can get that at home, right? I want to see what else is new and interesting. And then the second thing is I love the fact that you're, entertaining and encouraging the creativity from your brewers. It's like, this might be just an interesting, limited beer to offer at the beer garden for a while. It also might be the next yellow rose. Like you don't know until you try some of these things and give them the freedom to experiment.
So last time I was there, you guys had bottles of BBA Tornado Shark that you could take home.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's, you can, and you see a lot of these beers that we have here today are crowlers. So we can put anything that we have on tap into cans. Mm-hmm. And so if you find something that's only available at the brewery, you can still take some home.
Nice.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And it's always fun, to bring home something that you're like, this is I can spring this on my friends. It's not something I'm going to be able to get at the store. And that's a pretty cool thing. That's a pretty cool thing. I love you guys. I can't stress enough how much I enjoy, your beers, having you guys on. This is just a wonderful experience for me because I just love, I said it earlier in the show, the passion you guys, I feel like you bring to this sphere of the world is just a wonderful thing. I feel like it shows up in your products. I feel like it's something that you can tell when you drink these. These are like labors of love. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a little too hokey, but that's how it feels to me, and I love that.
Taste the love, though.
Now I know that Yellow Rose,
Just like the sun.
yeah, just like the soap.
Not that way. Get out of here. Get that out of here.
Blake's bathwater. The next Yellow.
Yeah, that's the next one-off beer.
Yeah, it's your next side of the
Is
file.
that a beard hair in my beer?
Yellow Rose obviously is you guys' sort of flagship. It's your bestseller. After that, what is the next sort of thing that you're proud of Yellow Rose? I can understand why. What's your next sort of like crowning achievement? Not necessarily bestseller, but thing that you're the proudest of having put together. You have a second favorite child?
Wow, what a question. I wasn't ready for that. I do like the fact that we used to do the braggot a long time ago, but that's not a very popular style. Zythophile's been a great story for us, but I guess I would say we haven't done it yet.
Oh, I like that.
Real quickly, too, big news. You guys have a new property.
We do. We
hadn't talked about that yet.
We recently purchased 7 acres.
Nice.
It's in Montgomery,
It's
but outside of the
gorgeous.
city, and it's just south of the area. So.
Love it. It'll be exciting to see what you do with a little more space. I love your space now, but I can see why you would want to push out a little bit.
Oh well, yeah, we're maxed out. I mean,
It's got country stuff, too. There's a little country house, a little country pond.
Well, the country
and some
house
other people's cows.
going. That's true. Yeah, there's a lot to see. There's a pond. There's lots of trees. It's
Very big
got
house
some
in the
trees.
country.
And
So 3 Blur fans just got that. 3 of them. All 3.
All three.
All 3. This is very exciting. So when are you moving? You think into this? What's your projected timeline?
so it's a long process. I never done this before, so you think like, oh, we'll buy the property and we'll start building tomorrow, but there's so much to do. So we have the site engineering's being done right now, and then we're going to have to get TxDOT's blessing and the county's blessing and everything. So bottom line, I think we'll hopefully break ground in Q1.
Is it any harder to get blessing from the local government entities because you're a brewery than if you were, say, building another type of facility?
No, you just get in line. They don't categorize.
Okay.
It's supposedly. I mean,
Yeah, that's
maybe
good to
behind
know.
the scenes they do. I don't know, but I'm assuming.
Now we're
they
not
just
in
get
any
line.
we're not in any city limits, so that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
And you can always just drop off a 6er of Yellow Rose at somebody's doorstep, and they go, "Oh, we need more of this."
I don't think that works.
We would love to know if that works. If you're listening and someone in that
You
area,
could do that
County
for us,
officials.
maybe.
let us know.
Certainly, it works with us. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
It's, guys, thank you so much for being on the program. We appreciate it, and we love all you do. Love your passion for making great beer, and love the great beers that you make.
Always a great time. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Ian. Next week we have the show that we recorded in advance.
Yes.
With I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Can you help
Jimmy
me?
Red,
Thank you.
High-Wire Distillery.
Yes, Highwire. Yes.
Yes.
Good stuff. It was a
good
great
stuff.
show. We had great fun.
I
That'll be
can't wait
next
to
week's
hear it
show.
out there. It's a great show. Those
All
guys
right.
were so fun.
Thank you guys for being a part of the program and for listening to us. If you are not from Texas or Louisiana, get down here and sample some of this great beer. You will not regret it. Have a great week, everybody. And until we meet again, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.